the layout of a commercial aircraft. Introduction to the module. In this module, various components of the aircraft and their utilities are discussed. As such, it is advisable to study both the module fully, to be conversant with all the terms and definitions in a better way. Topics to be covered in this module are: components of aircraft, the instruments, components of aircraft. Modern aircraft have numerous components and various sophisticated instruments. In order to explain one of them, and/or its utilization as a cabin crew, mentioning some other components and some specific terms or definitions also becomes essential. Some of the basic and important ones are cited and discussed below. Fuselage. It is the central body or the main structure of the aircraft to which other surfaces like wings, tailplane, undercarriage, etc. are attached. This part of the aircraft structure, which spans from its nose to tail, accommodates the pilot cabin, cockpit, the passenger cabin and the cargo holds. In the case of a human body, flesh and skin cover the skeleton, whereas in the case of the fuselage the skeleton is the framework made out of wood or metal alloy that is subsequently covered by fabric or metal alloy sheets, analogous to the flesh and skin of the human body. The said concept satisfies both the previously mentioned conditions and gives the fuselage the desired structural shape and the strength for satisfying the purpose of its requirement. Various other fitments, such as wings, undercarriage and control surfaces are accreted to the fuselage. Even the engine is commonly mounted on the nose part of the fuselage in case of single-engine aircraft. Cockpit. This is the part of the fuselage meant to accommodate the pilot and other cockpit crew, and is equipped with all the equipment and instruments that are needed to fly the aircraft. Wings. The wings are attached horizontally towards the forward section of the fuselage. The periphery or side of the wings, that is integrated to the fuselage, is called the root of the wing-to-wing root, and the edge or the extreme end of the wing, farthest from the wing root, is called the tip of the wing-to-wing tip. The forward longitudinal side, the lengthwise side, of the wings, that faces the air during the movement of the aircraft, is called the leading edge, while the rear longitudinal side of the wings, which accommodates the ailerons and the flaps, farthest from the forward edge, is called the trailing edge of the wings. The lateral, breadth-wise, cross-section or the profile of the wings has an aerofoil shape and possesses a typical aerodynamic quality. This quality enables the wings to acquire the necessary aerodynamic lift to support a heavier-than-air aircraft while moving through air, which makes the aircraft fly. The tail section. The tail section, also known as empennage, is composed of 4 components, such as tailplane or horizontal stabilizer, elevators, fin or vertical stabilizer and rudder. All these 4 segments of the tail section are again not solid metal pieces, but a framework covered with sheet job analogous to those of fuselage and wings as described earlier, and which follow their principle homogeneously. Tailplane or horizontal stabilizer. The tailplane is an immovable airfoil structure of the tail section that is assembled almost horizontally on the fuselage as that of the wings, which provides stability in pitching. Both the coupled elevators are attached equidistant from its middle to constitute the tailplane. The tailplane could be trimmed from the cockpit. Fin or vertical stabilizer. This immovable component of the tail section is assembled perpendicularly, vertically, to the fuselage at the middle of the tailplane. The rudder is hinged to its trailing edge. Ailerons. The ailerons are one of the primary and wing-related flight control surfaces. These movable components are hinged at their own longitudinal forend and are attached to the trailing edge of each wing to complete the formation of the wings. These could be raised or depressed by moving the stick. The ailerons are interlinked, and by virtue of this interlinking, the movement of both the ailerons is simultaneous. The ailerons move in a way such that when one aileron on one wing goes up, the other on the other wing goes down. Flaps. The flaps, attached to the trailing edge of the wings between the ailerons and the fuselage, are one of the auxiliary movable controls that form the wings. These could only be lowered simultaneously below the wing's surface through a control flap lever in the cockpit. The extent of its lowering is measured by the angle which the lowered flaps form with the wings. This is communicated or taken as flaps lowered to such and such degree. For example, flaps 15 means that the flaps are lowered to form an angle of 15 degrees with the wings. However, the flaps are put on through various settings to suit the various phases of landing and thereafter, such as during descent, approach to land, final landing approach, and after touchdown rolling, moving on the ground. Suitable lowering of the flaps evokes the drag and provides the advantage of approach for landing at a steeper inclination or gradient with a reduced velocity or speed. Elevators. This primary and movable control surface produces the pitching movement of the aircraft on its lateral axis. The forward longitudinal edge of the elevators is hinged to the trailing edge of the tail plane and can be moved up and down by the forward-backward displacement of the stick from the cockpit. The attachment of the elevators to the tail plane is exactly similar to that of the ailerons to the wings. However, the difference remains that in case of elevators, the movements are synchronized. That means both the elevators simultaneously either go up or go down. Rudder. This is a primary, vertical, and movable control at the tail section, whose leading edge is hinged to the trailing edge of the fin, in a way analogous to that of the ailerons to the wings and elevators to the tail plane. Movement of the rudder bar or pedal, located near the cockpit floor in front of the flyer and accessible by his or her foot, actuates the rudder.